What I'd like to do in this first video is to go over all the features and functions very quick. We're not going to make an actual beat just yet. We're just going to outline what it does, and we're also going to show you what you should do before you even start. I know you're eager to make these beats, but before you do, you got to tweak your PC. Otherwise, the app will freeze up on you more often than you'd like. You'll get really frustrated and you won't get as much out of this application as you should. Alright, so when you logged in to download, you'll probably have gone over this already very quickly and probably overlooked it as being not all that important, when really it's very important. The FAQ and support section in our members area, dubturbo.com/members. This is the first thing you should do. Go through all 20 some odd steps here. Some of them are extremely intimidating and complex, so don't do them if you're intimidated by them and don't want to do them. But do as many as you can. And then underneath this, we have a whole bunch of FAQs answered from live scenarios from customers on how to tweak and how to improve the overall performance of DubTurbo so that you do get the most that you can out of this application. Okay, so let's go over everything very quickly in this first video, and then in number 2 we'll go through the drum machine and the keyboard and make an actual first beat. So we need to know that these 3 tools right here are your most important: your pencil, your pencil, and your eraser. First thing I usually do up here is your tempo. Double click on it, put in 90, and you just heard me trigger sounds. I'll explain what that means in a moment. Press enter. Now we're at 90 beats per minute. The first thing I usually do, okay, click on the pencil, and on layer number 1, just click once anywhere in the first 4 bars here. If you just click once, you'll fill up these first 4 bars. Remember, we're at 2 bars right now. We just laid 1 in by just clicking. On layer 2 though, what I want you to do is click, hold, and drag from this side to this side, right to the very end, and you'll notice you fill it right in. So now we have 2 blocks. These blocks are actually what represent your bar counts. Now if we move our bar count up to 8, you'll see that this grows. So what I'll do here is take this to 8, double click, press 8. Sorry, you'll hear the triggers. Do that every time you do trigger something, unless you turn number lock off, then change it and turn number lock back on. But you put in your bar count, press 8, you'll notice that it grew, right? If I click loop right now, you'll see that I'm only looping the first little bit. Using my arrow tool, drag the second node right to the very end. Now you're looping all 8. So what I want to do first here is outline the difference between drawing in 1 bar, 2 bars, or even more. In fact, I'll do that here just to show you guys that this isn't what you want to do. You don't want to draw on huge long bars, and I'll tell you why in a moment. If we go to layer 1, if we click on this with our arrow tool and then click edit, this will bring up our drum editor, and you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4 fades, right? Those are your bars. That's a measure of 4 within 1 bar. If I click on the second guy, you'll now see 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If I click on this guy and click edit, you'll see a ton, and it's impossible to work with this matrix because they're so small. We could have scrollers here that you can scroll back and forth with, but just to make this as easy as possible for you guys at the beginning stages of beat building, we want you to work with 2 bars, or 1 if you're really new and want to be sure what you know what you're doing, 1 bar at a time. But I like to work with 2 because then it's easy to copy them. And what I mean by copy them is if I hold down the shift button and click, hold, and drag, I can copy my bars over and just erase them accordingly as well. If I have something in this bar and I copy it over and then edit this bar, it'll only affect that bar there. It won't affect both bars. So it's nice because you build up a little loop, you duplicate it a bunch of times, and then you do change-ups within, and now you have beautiful, very easily made loops. What I need you to know is these very first 4 are drums. The next are keys. So if I draw a bar on my key track and click edit, it pulls up my keyboard and the editor within. If I click on a drum panel and click edit, it pulls up my drum machine and the length of the block within. Okay, very important. Those are the first few things you need to know. These 16 channels represent these 16 channels. So layer number 1, there's the volume for layer number 1. Solo, mute. Okay, if you just want to hear what layer 1 sounds like once you have like 6 layers going, or if you want to have a combo of only layers 1, 3, and 5 going, then you would mute everything else, and you could have combos very easily. If you want to track out from DubTurbo, let's say you have 4 tracks or 4 layers here going, and you want to solo layer number 1 and export it, then you want to solo layer number 2 and export it, and so on. You can export 1 layer at a time and then bring those into Cubase or Audacity or Pro Tools and edit from there. So you can very easily make an 8, 16, or 32 bar loop with change-ups and then bring it into any other editor, make a full track out of it within a matter of 15 minutes. Our metronome is exactly what it is. Turn it on, press play, and you'll hear a click at whatever BPM you're set to. So that's 90 BPM. That's also to say that if I go to 180, which is exactly double that, it'll be the same but double timed. So instead of going 1, 2, 3, it'll now be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's just literally doubled. We'll explain how doubling works later on. It's basically like upping your quantizing. So instead of fitting in 4 per bar, you're fitting in 8 per bar, or 16 per bar if we doubled that again. A little bit of math for you, but for now, don't worry about it. Just leave it at 90. We'll go to the next video momentarily, but again, if you're on a drum track and you want to preview these, the triggers for them are 1 through 0 on your keyboard. So if I click on edit, I'm on beatbox number 1, and if I go, that's me pressing the keys on my keyboard. Beatbox 2, same thing, just 3. Alright, and you can see yourself hitting them here if you gotta click on the actual. Alright, and then if you're on a key track, you click the letter Q, which is your very first, your second C, your first full octave. That's grayed out. Okay, and then if you click on edit here, click on the guy first, click on edit. You can go through the sounds by clicking on the arrows and then triggering with the letter Q. If it doesn't trigger, just click once on the keyboard, then use the keyboard that you type on. Or instead of clicking edit, you could have clicked on P, and that'll bring up this panel, which you can then scroll through each category and pick whatever sound you want right away. Okay, so in review very quickly, your bar count, we start with 2. You fill it in with 2 full bars when you draw it in with your pencil tool. Your metronome must be on or off. When it's off, when you export, make sure it's off, because if you export while it's on, it'll actually export the metronome as well. Silly little thing, but make sure that you export with metronome off. And the loop is very simple to get to know, and you'll probably be using that a lot too. If you're at 1 bar or 2 bars, and you have your loop on and it doesn't loop perfectly, don't worry about it. It's really not that big of a deal. No, this is a pro software, so we don't really worry about having 1 loop. Those other softwares that use just 1 bar looped, that's you know, worry about it there. Here, that first loop isn't really all that important. All you're trying to do is build a good feel for your vibe, then grow your bar count out to whatever and start building up your beat. From there, you know, it doesn't really matter. You can export 32 bars, import it into whatever else, and set up your choruses and verse structures very, very easily. Even with 8 bars, to be perfectly honest with you, even 2 bars, I could make a full track out of. Might be a bit limited, but you know, don't let that first little loop bit intimidate you, or the fact that you can't do 800 bars here. You really don't need them. In fact, most producers will only work with a limited amount of bars for their choruses and then for their verses. And we'll go through all that in the next video. So I hope you've enjoyed. That's your first little lesson. See you on the next video. Take care.